What are the best games of all time? Is the Xbox Series getting a new Xbox in the series? And we finally have some news on the next Witcher in this week's episode of Video Game News. So Metacritic has revealed the best games of all time according to Metacritic. If you don't know what Metacritic is, it's basically Rotten Tomatoes, but for video games, it's a website where there are reviewers and there's like a score for like the public rating or whatever. There are some flaws in its methods and favoritism seems to happen sometimes, but by and large, if you're on the fence, you can decide if a game is going to be worth your money or not based on this score. For this announcement, they released 17 titles, and they're basically, from my understanding, just the 17 titles that have a score of 97 or higher on their list. Let me know down in the comments which games you think should have been on this list. Starting with the highest, we have Ocarina of Time coming in with a score of 99. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, Grand Theft Auto 4, and Soul Calibur all have scores of 98. The rest of the list are the ones that scored 97, and those are Super Mario Galaxies 1 and 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, Grand Theft Auto 5, Disco Elysium The Final Cut, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, Perfect Dark, Metroid Prime, Grand Theft Auto 3, Super Mario Odyssey, Halo Combat Evolved, the first one, and NFL 2K21. How many of these games do you still need to play? I haven't played a ton of Galaxy 2. I've played exactly 0 of Disco Elysium, any of the Soul Caliburs, or the original Perfect Dark. I guess I have some work to do. We all know that once a game is finished, the next project is already in the works for the next release for most studios. But it still feels so good to get that little piece of information, especially from a pretty well-beloved series. The Witcher's next installment has finally been confirmed by CD Projekt Red, who have apparently entered into collaboration with Epic Games to use their Unreal Engine 5 to build this open-world experience. Kotaku claims that this is not going to be a quote-unquote Witcher 4, but a new game is exciting nonetheless. And the world is big enough for plenty of spin-offs and stories about other characters to take place. For those of you who are looking to get a job in the gaming industry, game director Jason Slama made a tweet saying, quote, "Think you could join the team? We have tons of roles open with the possibility of remote work we could discuss. Has it been long enough to forget about Cyberpunk 2077? Do people even remember that it was developed by the same people who made the Witcher series? Although I never did give Cyberpunk a shot, so I don't know how bad it was firsthand, I am gonna say I will give this game a shot if it looks good. I did enjoy The Witcher 3, and I would love to go back into this world and see what happens." Moving on, did you know Netflix makes video games? I did too. Apparently Netflix has released about 14 games, most of which are categorized as casual puzzle and card games. Netflix is now stepping up its game though. I'm sorry. And apparently they are working on Into the Dead 2 Unleashed, which is going to be classified as a first-person shooter that takes place during a zombie apocalypse. Apparently the Into the Dead series has 2 other entries from 2012 and 2017, and they were released by a company called Pickpock. This game will feature, quote, "multiple characters, dozens of stages, hundreds of challenges." They're also going to release 2 new mobile games if you care about that. This little bit is more of just a cool thing that happened rather than full out news, but an original prototype of the Pong video game system just sold at auction for $270,000. Not a bad return on your investment, as one of these would have just cost about $55 back in the 70s when they were released. So you guys know it's time for Rumor Corner, and I got some juicy ones today. According to Twitter user Taro Alolman, we might be getting some new Xbox hardware. The recently posted screenshot shows device product Xbox Keystone in the data mine contents. Although I wasn't able to confirm where the data mine came from. I checked multiple sources. I couldn't tell if it was like Windows or Microsoft operating system. But oh my God, this has everyone in a frenzy. Is this going to be an iteration, sort of like how the One X was to the One? They do use codenames like this. Well, we had, I think, Durango was the One, Scorpio or Scorpion was the One X, and Scarlet was the series. So seeing something like Xbox Keystone as representing a new piece of hardware that they're going to be bringing out shortly is not really something to overlook per se. Another option for this product is the rumored Xbox Cloud Dongle device. Apparently, you would just plug this directly into your TV and it would give you access to your Microsoft Game Pass library, basically wherever. I personally think this would be pretty cool, and we would probably need this more than a new Xbox, which you can't even buy the first one anyway, so why would you make a new one when you can't get the first? I don't know. Of course, the third option is that this could all just be due to some jokester who got bored and typed it all up in a notepad document to get some attention. But what do you think? Are we going to be getting a new Xbox soon? Would you use the new dongle device? What is the perfect temperature to bake chocolate chip cookies? And finally, we talked about this a couple episodes ago, so we're probably just going to continue to follow this one. That is what I'm talking about, the GoldenEye remake. Last time we talked about how we saw some possible trophies that would be implemented into a new game that would be released for a console such as Xbox, or achievements, I'm sorry. But this next little bit has some legal backing. BGC has discovered that a GoldenEye trademark that covers, quote, downloadable electronic game software was granted an extension. Once again, this year marks the 60th anniversary of the famed Spy series, so re-releasing what many think is their most popular game would be a huge way to celebrate this. That is it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for dropping in for this one. Some juicy news this week. We are still streaming games every single night over at twitch.tv/precision if you want to come hang out over there. Make sure you get subscribed to the YouTube channel for all of the recent happenings and to stay in the know in the video game world. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps so much. And I have a ton of other videos on the page if you want to check those out. Last week, we talked about why no person in the history of the world has ever actually been in zero gravity. Thank you all so much for sticking through to the end, and I will see you guys in the next one.